Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 27 of Dirtmasters, the review series for the rally cars of GT6. Now in this episode we're featuring an iconic rally car, is the 1999 Subaru Impreza WRC machine, which of course really put Subaru on the rallying map, and also inspired what is arguably the coolest road-going Impreza, which was of course the 22B Coupe, which is a highly sought after homologation special. But how does this car compare to both the older and newer machines, both WRC and otherwise, that are available on the game? Well, let's go to the track to find out. Now, in terms of sheer straight line performance, the Impreza does have less power than many of the other WRC machines and many of the other rally cars in general. So unsurprisingly, for acceleration, I'm giving it an average 3 out of 5. It's not particularly good, but it's definitely not bad either. For low speed handling though, and this may be surprising, I'm actually giving it a 4, because it's not as good at low speeds as I was expecting it to be. It's heavier than I expected and doesn't really feel at home on a city track. And for city tracks in general, I'm going to give this car, again, a 4, because although it's not the slowest, it's far from being among the quickest. So now let's see how it takes on a country track. Now, twisty country tracks do set apart the good from the bad, especially when it comes to all-wheel drive vehicles. And I was expecting, to be honest, the 22B to really redeem itself on this track, but unfortunately it doesn't. Now, it's definitely not a bad car. For high speed handling I am giving it a 4, the same as its low speed handling, because it's definitely not the worst and it's far from being the slowest. But it is a bit of an underwhelming car. It's not as good as you'd think it would be. And overall, for twisty country tracks in general, again I'm giving it a 4, which is respectable but not among the best. For top-end performance, I'm also giving it a 3, which is unsurprising because, again, it's just your average rally machine. So straight line breaks even against most of the other WRC cars. But can it improve itself and the ratings that it gets on a dirt track? Well, let's go and find out. So, can the Impreza of this generation redeem itself on a dirt track? Because obviously it was on dirt tracks that it primarily made a name for itself. Well, thankfully, yes, it can. It feels immeasurably better on a dirt track than it does on both types of tarmac track. On the tarmac, it just doesn't feel at home, but on the dirt it really does. The handling becomes much more loose, but at the same time exactly as stable and really compatible with the corners on a dirt track that you need to be confident in your ability with your rally car. So overall, for dirt tracks, I am giving it a strong 5 because it is very good. And not only is it very good, but it's also among the quickest of rally cars, which is impressive considering it is one of the least powerful WRC models. For its overall drivability, I'm going to give it a 5. And the reason for that is because although it doesn't perform the best on tarmac, it is still relatively easy to drive. And on dirt tracks, it is very good and is also easy to drive. So for overall drivability, it is a very good car. So a bit of a mixed result so far. Pretty good on a dirt track, not so good on tarmac. What about on snow? Well, let's go to Chamonix finally to find out. Now, I'm glad to be able to say that this particular Impreza does actually keep its winning streak from a dirt track on a snow track. It does feel very much at home here. Again, that sheer drivability really works to your advantage, and also the lack of power compared to many of the other models does also make it easier to handle for less experienced drivers, so that's not going to work against it in any situation. So overall, for snow tracks, it is a very good car, and although it's not necessarily as high on the leaderboards on a snow track as it is on a dirt track, it does still score very well here. So I am giving it a strong 5 again for snow tracks. So quite a mixed result overall for the Subaru. Good on dirt and snow, not so good on tarmac. But let's now go finally back to the garage for a roundup of its very best and worst points. Overall then, the 1999 Impreza WRC is a pretty good rally car. It's not one of the absolute best rally cars or even one of the best WRCs, but it's certainly not a bad car. It's only 300,000 credits to buy, so it's one of the more affordable rally cars, and that does work in its favour. And as we said, for dirt and snow tracks, it is very good, especially on dirt tracks where it is among the quickest of rally cars. Overall though, on the majority of track types, it does fall behind some of its rivals, or most of its rivals in fact. Now that said, it's definitely not a bad car, and for its power it's actually very quick. As far as its best and worst points, well, its best point would be how easy it is to drive, and that is actually partly due to its disadvantage in power. There's less power to deal with, and in turn less power to wrestle with, which means you can focus on driving the car more than fighting against it. As far as its downside, well, the downside is the handling. It is heavier than all of the other Subaru Impreza rally cars, and that does set it back, especially on tarmac-based rallies. On dirt and snow, it doesn't really affect it that much, but on tarmac, it is definitely something to bear in mind. Now overall, as a tabulation of all of its ratings put together, it does achieve still a respectable 4.2 out of 5, but it's definitely not among the absolute best of rally cars available on GT6. So as always, I'll put this car's specs, ratings and lap times in the video description for you to compare it to the other cars of the series if you need to. And that's it for this episode, so I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.